who would have suffered as a result of their policies, how they intend to ease the hardship. We got none of that, ladies and gentlemen. Instead, we got a lot of long talk, as people would say. A lot of long talk instead of dealing with the issues. Were it not for the parliamentary party, and obviously our discussions at branch meetings, ladies and gentlemen, because sometimes we can't really rely on the press, I must confess. But if not for the Barbados Labour Party, bringing several things to their attention, ladies and gentlemen, where would it be today? We would have been lost. And we can't afford, ladies and gentlemen, to allow this country to drift. We've got to keep them on their toes, and we've got to continue to preach this message of change and to say to the people of Barbados, yes, we accepted in 2008 that you want to change. Yes, we voted for change and we respect democracy as a mature political institution. But now the time has come for us to change the Democratic Labour Party and go back to a progressive Barbados Labour Party government. Now, I talked about hardships, and I will also say to you that when you look, for example, one clear example is the energy policy. You have a government who came to office and amended the energy policy. In fact, completely revamped it. And you have an energy policy today that will cause you to pay more for gasoline. Will cause the commercial entities in Barbados to pay more for diesel in order to manufacture items. They don't recognize, ladies and gentlemen, that when you change an energy policy, you impact thousands and thousands of Barbadians. You also impact businesses, ladies and gentlemen. And I know that other speakers will more than likely engage in the debate on energy. So I'm not going to touch on go any further on it. But except to say that it's about one example where the Democratic Labour Party once again has elected to unleash a reign of high prices on poor people in Barbados. Whether it's diesel, whether it's LPG, whether it's gasoline, ladies and gentlemen. Every time you look around, you can see that there's substantial increases in gasoline. And when you look back, and you recognize that the price of oil is lower than it was when you were in office, and when you look back and see that the Barbados Labour Party cushioned you, the people of Barbados, because we understood that it would have been unfair for us to levy increased energy prices on you. We took a view to manage the energy prices through excise tax, through the VAT component, ladies and gentlemen. We took a policy decision to ensure that those fishermen and agriculturalists and other industrialists, ladies and gentlemen, who would have benefited from duty-free diesel, today they have destroyed the very policy. And would come to you and would want to give you the impression that there's nothing they can do because there's an international recession.
Don't worry that.
We've been through recessions before and we have coped. We went through 9/11 and we coped. In fact, some of you probably don't recognize the significant impact that 9/11 had on Barbados. But we went through it thanks to the skillful leadership of the Barbados Labour Party team. And that is what you have in the Barbados Labour Party. But I am going to talk about an area I know a little bit about, not too much, tourism. And you know, you would have seen in today's Sunday Sun the caption which says, "Take off, BTA boss upbeat over improved visitor arrivals." Well, we have no quarrel with increased arrivals. And certainly as a political party, we should never have a quarrel with increased arrivals. The central bank is projecting that there will be growth in the Barbadian economy of some 2 to 2.5% this year. They make the point that in order to achieve that growth target, tourism must grow by about 3 or 4%, and must have at least 8,000 more arrivals from the United Kingdom as a base. But we're not going to argue with the Democratic Labour Party. We are going to argue with the government central bank, because we know what growth is about. We are accustomed growing as a Barbados Labour Party government, growing the economy by 2%, 3%, and 4%. So there's nothing new. So we don't have to sit back and criticize the government. Of course we want the government to grow the economy, because it is a benefit to all of us. to every one of us. So we would want them to grow the economy of Barbados. But recognizing that tourism and international business, that those are two significant foreign exchange contributors to the economy. You would have thought, like I said before, that they would have had a debate on them. But they didn't want to have a debate on tourism because they obviously felt that the shadow spokesperson for the opposition in Parliament would have once again brought a number of issues to their attention and so embarrassed them. So they decided not to call the tourism head. But what is happening in Barbados, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, you had an increase in arrivals in January, 8.7%. Yes, there's growth, or there was growth in February, 5.7%. So yes, arrivals are growing. But when you look at it, and you realize that the people, and some of you work in the tourism industry, in this room I'm sure, and when I walk the constituency of St. Michael West Central, and I listen to people who work in the tourism industry, and they're complaining to me that they're a short time, that they're a week on and a week off, I ask myself, well, what is happening? If you say to me that there is growth in the arrival numbers, then people should be at work. If you are boasting that tourism arrivals are on the up and are on the up, then hotel workers should be working a full week and some overtime and double time too. Hotel workers should not be on layoff or week on and week off. So when I look and I saw Maskell's comment as well about the dip in the foreign exchange earnings in January, I sat back and I said to myself, well, something must be wrong. Perhaps the visitors are spending less. So if they're spending less, then we would want to look at it objectively. But the significant drop, only to hear from a man in this constituency, in the name of a Minister of Finance, telling us foolishness about a $30 billion loan repayment for the prison, has nothing to do when we made the payment the year before and the year prior to that one as well. But you have a situation that when you confront the Democratic Labour Party on major issues in this country, they are quick to point out frivolous things. And that is one frivolous thing, ladies and gentlemen. So that we have a situation where they are boasting about tourism arrivals every day. Boasting about tourism arrivals, and the workers in the hotel sector can't get a full week, and they're on layoff, week on and week off too, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of underemployment in this country, yet there's a boast. But, you know, they can talk about all the increased arrivals. There's also something known as hotel occupancy, and the people who work in the hotel industry understand hotel occupancy. They know when the house is 90%, or when it's 100% occupied, right? So nobody has to come and tell you anything about hotel occupancy, right? And that is the one thing that we have to focus on. And we have in this society to start to challenge the Democratic Labour Party on these issues. We must not allow the Democratic Labour Party to run away with any boast in Barbados about tourism arrivals. Because you can't tell the country that tourism arrivals are up, and on the same hand, you're not getting the foreign exchange. On the other hand, workers are feeling it. You can't really tell the people of Barbados that you have all these increased arrivals, but at the same time, there is nothing to show. But I say to you, ladies and gentlemen, that the issue confronting this country with arrivals is that the Democratic Labour Party should come to the people of Barbados and tell them what are the contributing factors associated with increased arrivals in Barbados. They should come and tell you. Because if you look at the tourism statistics, you will also see that, for example, in January, you had 48,472 arrivals, but you had 1,395 in transit passengers. In January of 2011, the same period, you had 52,685 arrivals, but you had 3,121 arrivals. If you go to February 36, look and see what February did. If you look at February 2011, 51,430 arrivals, or 3,801 in transit passengers. and you see the trend. There is a trend